All right, so at the end of last week's video, I finished hunting on Friday night, and I met up with my buddy Ricky at his cabin, and I picked up a 243 that he brought up for me for Rory to use for the youth hunt. So big thanks to Ricky for that, because the youth hunt wouldn't have happened without that. Um, so I took Rory out shooting Saturday morning. It was the first time that she had ever shot a real gun. So we did some dry fire drills and got her acclimated to, just the way the firearm operates and pulling the trigger and how that felt. And then we sent a couple of rounds down range, and she did real good with that.
Cycle the bolt.
Huh?
Cycle the bolt. Safety. Yep, good job.
I think you hit the dirt. Safety.
So we went out Saturday afternoon, and I haven't been hunting that area. In fact, I haven't hunted that area in a couple of years now. So I wasn't sure where to take her. So I took her to where I killed a buck late season 2 years ago, bow hunting. And we walked around scouting back in there, and it was just too green. You didn't have any visibility off the ground. So we walked probably about 2 miles, and she was a trooper. She kept up. She didn't complain. She did a really great job. I was very impressed by her. And we ended up sitting, and we heard a bunch of deer and never saw anything Saturday evening.
Because you want to kind of hit them like right there.
Yep, those are the lungs. You want to hit the lungs.
So Saturday night, me and her mom went out and to see a band and hit it pretty hard. So.
Oh, Jesus, Jesus Christ. Don't spill my beer.
I told Rory before we went out, I said, you're going to be in charge of getting us up if you want to go out in the morning. And I didn't think she'd get me up, but sure as shit, she woke me up. She drug me out to go hunting. So I'm like, all right. So I took her out and took her to a different piece that I'd never been to before. We just kind of walked it and scouted it a little bit. Walked a couple miles again, and sat in an area that had a lot of ticks, and they were crawling all over. So we packed up and moved. And sat in a different area. And by this point, it's like 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'm thinking we ain't going to see nothing at this time. So I just laid back on the ground. I said, I'm going to take a nap. Wake me up if you see anything. So about noon, she shakes me. It says there's a deer in front of us. And I wake up and I'm looking. I couldn't make it out. It was standing in some brush. But I'm thinking it's down at the transition of the hardwoods and the swamp ditch line. And she's like pulling out her phone and she's zooming in on it and showing it to me. Well, then finally I see it flick its tail, and it's standing in the brush at like 50 yards. And we're doing all this moving around, and there's nothing in between us and the deer. So I'm like, shit. So I said, slowly start to pull up your gun. And I didn't even have the cameras set up for the second spot that we sat, because I didn't think we were going to see nothing. So she gets the gun about halfway up, and it takes off running. It was a big old doe. But so She didn't get anything during the time that I had her out because I was a shitty mentor. But she was out this last weekend with her dad for the Minnesota youth hunt, and she shot her first deer this weekend. So that's pretty cool. So I'm proud of her for that. She's a good kid. She deserves it. From there, I did some local hunting around home. But being as this week, that the weekend following was my sister's wedding, I was not able to make it out as much as I would have liked to. I had a couple rain days during the week also that prevented me from getting out with the camera gear. So had a great time at her wedding. Shane, her husband now, is an excellent guy. I'm happy to have him as a brother-in-law. So I'll insert a couple clips of the wedding. I know I certainly got way too drunk. I could have and should have, but was unable to make it out to the woods Sunday evening. Even I walked out. I walked out to the truck and made about halfway out to the truck, and it was cold and damp, and I was like, nope, going back inside. There's no way I'm sitting out tonight. So congratulations, Jesse and Shane. I wish you many years together. And Shane, if you get wise and you end up running away, I'll still be your friend.
We declare it's you is for that dragon. Come on, give it up for him.
So as I was saying, I took Rory out for the youth hunt earlier. In this week's video that you're watching, it's weeks later now. I'm behind on editing. But we were having a blast. I really had a good time taking her out, and we were watching deer hunting reels or shorts, the things that little short videos on Facebook and YouTube and whatnot, while we were sitting around waiting on deer, and just we were joking around and teasing each other and stuff. She was making fun of me because I was getting cold, because I was underdressed, because I was more worried about her having enough clothes on. So anyhow, I was telling her all kinds of stories and stuff, on the drive back and forth to the woods and stuff. And one of the stories that I told her that is probably my funniest deer hunting story that I have. And I told her it because it happened when I was a youth. I would have been 11 years old at the time. And that was the year before that. At that time you could hunt. They didn't have youth seasons or nothing like that when I was growing up. So it was gun season, and I wanted to go up deer hunting with my dad, even though I couldn't actually hunt with him. So at that time we were doing a lot of driving. He was in the driving crew, and this was my first year driving. So we all lined up, we were doing a drive. And my dad shoots at this deer early in the drive. And then at the end of the drive, it's in front of him again, and he shoots it and gets it. It's a big old doe. And back during this time, this would have been 89 plus 11. So it would be 2000. So it would have been back in 2000. that was back when they still had Hunter's Choice. So you didn't get all the doe tags that you get nowadays when you buy a tag in Wisconsin. You had to, kind of like how you apply for a turkey license back then, you had to apply for what was called Hunter's Choice, which would turn your buck tag into an either or tag. And you still only had one tag. So if you shot a doe, that was that. But he didn't have a Hunter's Choice tag that year, but guys in the group did. So he shoots this doe. It was a big old doe at the end of this drive, and it was not real far from the end of the logging road. So this guy, I think the guy's name was Rick, if I remember right, or Rich. It might have been Rich, but anyhow, I'll never forget this. So we got in a fresh snow that morning. There was like 3-4 inches of snow, and it was that real powdery, slippery snow. And my dad and this guy are dragging this deer the short distance to the logging trail where they were going to gut it. And my dad steps over this down tree, this log laying across the ground, and he slips. And when he does that, he swings back like this because he's losing his balance and like spinning at the same time. And he fucking sucker punches this guy right in the face and fucking bends up his glasses, and his face was all fucking red and shit where he hit him. And my dad goes down on the ground, he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, that shit. So this guy's all kind of fucking pissed because he just got punched in the face. His glasses are all fucking, they were bent to shit. And they finished dragging it the last little bit to the trail, and the guy flips this deer over, and he's on his knees, and he's like mad. He pushes down on its belly, like its lower, like the guts area, and this thing just streams. Like, it wasn't just like a squirt. It was a long stream of piss just comes up. It hits his face. It covers his whole face. There's piss just dripping down off of him. And it was cold. So it's steaming. So this guy is just sitting there fucking like pissed with literal steam coming off of his face and his bent glasses. I'll never forget the way that looked as long as I live. It's the funniest hunting story that I got and probably will ever have.